welcome back to another episode of Author Interviews with Jazz and Prose. I'm your host, Sai, and today we are here with the lovely Tiffany Flowers Tows for her new book, Zuri's Magic. How are you doing today, Miss Tiffany?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. It's a Sunday. Praise the
Yes.
Lord. We're here. So this is a beautiful cover. I usually like to start with the title and then the inspiration for the cover. So if you want to go ahead and start there.
Okay. All right. So the title is Zuri's Magic. Zuri is my little cousin. And I have written two other children's books,
Mhm.
and they feature her brother. And she said, I want a book about me. And
Mhm.
so I wrote a book about her. And it was quite a journey trying to figure out what to actually write about and what the message I wanted to send in the book was going to be. So um, I think it turned out great. When I saw the cover mock up, I was just excited because I think it's very cutesy and engaging, and I think that children will enjoy it.
Absolutely. I absolutely love it. I am a children's book author as well. So I think it's just always so fun during the little kids book. And like you said, dedicating it to a family member is always cute. What did she say when she saw the cover and everything and it was done?
I had her father, who's my older cousin,
Mhm.
um, sent a video, and her face was just, she doesn't talk a lot, but she
Yeah.
just, she had very specific instructions. She wanted to, it had to have trolls in it. So
Okay.
that's where the trolls come from. That was the part I had to figure out. She wanted trolls, and I was like, okay, how odd, but okay. But they're in there, and they're featured, and so she was very happy to see it. She
Oh,
said
I
she was
love
gonna take
that.
it to school and show her teacher.
Yes, I love that. That's so amazing. I feel like the day and age that we live in, the ability to be able to do this is just amazing. And I think it helps with literacy,
Yes,
make the kids want to actually read.
yes.
So, for information and background, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself as a writer. Like, how did you get started?
So my story starts way back in fifth grade. My fifth grade teacher, at the end of the year, some teachers do, where will they be in so many years? And
Mhm.
so she said, I was really quiet, really shy, really like, my mom told me not to mess around in school, so I didn't.
Yeah.
So stayed on the radar. And so I didn't even think she started it. And I was like, there's nothing she could write about me. Like, I don't do anything. And then she said that there comes Tiffany, it was Griffin at the time, and she's in her limo, and her second book is being made into a movie, and da 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 da. And I was like, wait, she thinks I can write? And
Mhm.
so from that point on, I started with poetry, and I kind of went and started writing, writing, writing. And then most recently, my first book was a romance novel, and my publisher there had gone to a writing workshop of hers. And she said, oh, I really like your writing style. You should write a book. And so she made me a part of her anthology. And then I branched out on my own with the first two, which are romance novels. And it just kind of has gone from there as I'm inspired. When I got into children's books, one of
Mhm.
my students, when I was an assistant principal, said, why haven't you written books we can read? Because they can't, of course, read the romance novels. And so that made me do that. So I started with those two. And then Zuri, of course, is, as I said, from my little
Yeah.
cousin wanting her own book. So,
Hey, I love that. So I've done a few interviews now with various authors, and
mhm,
one common thing they all say is someone planted the seed
mhm,
of motivation and encouragement
mhm,
to expand that belief. And I
mhm,
think that's so important.
mhm.
Same with me growing up, as a writer, I've had teachers to say, like, really encourage me to say, you can write, you need to write. So I think that's great. I try to keep that in mind as a teacher to
Right.
always, speak that into the kids, to give them that encouragement, because you just never know what words can, spark for a person and carry them on. Well, that's amazing that so how many books have you put out?
Okay, I have two romance novels. Those are the first two. And then I have two, well, this is my third children's book. And then I did a women's devotional, and I was the lead on that. A 30-day women's devotional as well. So, and I have another one that should come out later this year that will be poetry. So, just kind of
Yeah, that's
all
nice.
over the place, multi-genre type deal.
I love it. I love it.
Hmm.
Putting your talent to use, that's why God gave it to us, right?
Yes, yes.
Um, so book specific questions. So tell us about Zuri's magic. Sorry.
No, it's okay. So Zuri's magic is all about this little girl named Zuri, and she loves doing magic. She likes doing magic tricks for her family, and it was really important for me to show a family unit. And so you will see that in there. And so her mother always tells her that the real magic is inside of her. And so she kind of falls asleep with that thought process. And when she wakes up in the land of the trolls. And because she likes trolls too. And so it's all about what happens in the land of the trolls and how she manages to make it back home and discovers that truly the real magic is inside of her.
Oh, I love that. That is so cute. I can't wait to get that for my daughter. She's
Yes.
Yes, that's so cute. We do like, story time at night. And then my son, he's learning how to read. So I
Hmm.
love that. Oh,
Get it
um,
for them. They'll love it.
um, what was the most challenging part for writing Zuri's Magic?
The most challenging part actually wasn't with the wording. Well, I will say that's not true. So I was trying to make the language more simplistic, so to make sure that children can easily access it,
Mm-hmm.
whether they're starter readers or independent readers, and to make it engaging for them to want to read it over and over again. So that was a bit of a challenge because I am a bit of a wordsmith and like to use the big words, and just trying to make sure I broke it down for a child's level. And then the most challenging part for me was the illustration part. Um, just because I worked with an illustrator on Fiverr, that website, and just there was a lot of back and forth and pushback with that, and she was really pushing me to approve it before I was satisfied with it, and so that wasn't happening. And so just finally, it was supposed to come out in December, and it ended up coming out in March, April, somewhere like that. So, and we had been working for months. So that was the most challenging part. And then the upload to Amazon because they kept nitpicking with change this, change that. So that took a while. That took an extra 2, 3 weeks. So the most challenging, I guess, is my patience level with the process. I was ready for it to get out. So.
I totally understand because I've used Fiverr before for different projects, and
Mhm.
yes, like you said, it can be, especially with something like a children's book where there's illustrations,
Mhm.
because those pictures really bring to life like what you're saying. So
Mhm.
the tiniest details really do matter. So
Mhm.
but I do love Fiverr. I think it's a
Mhm.
great tool for people to use. Yeah. So yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Um, for your character, I love character development. I'm a
Okay.
reading teacher.
Oh, good.
And
Okay.
yeah, and I'm actually working on a book called The Character Code. You know, letting people know like ways that you can develop a character. So when it comes to Zuri and any of the other characters too, what was your process for creating that specific character?
So, Zuri is a lot like the real Zuri.
Yeah.
She's not like overly. extroverted.
Mm,
But I did want to make sure that she was relatable,
mm,
that children could see themselves in her. Um, and so just making sure that um, I was really focused on her. Um, being that relatable person and being able to relate to her parents and showing that relationship, and you know it really is about her discovering herself. And so it was I wanted to make sure that she evolved throughout the book, whereas maybe she liked doing magic, but you get the feeling that she's not necessarily confident in herself, and that's why her mom has to keep telling her that the magic's inside of her, to the end where she actually realizes that the real magic is inside of you. You can do whatever it is that you set your mind to doing if you just concentrate and um, persevere. And
mm.
so that's kind of the process there with that. I want to make sure that she was that it taught a lesson,
Yeah.
but and she was able to teach a lesson, but that it was still an engaging journey along the way.
Yeah, I love that. And I feel like, as a teacher, I have kids too, but I feel like, when you're a teacher, you see kids from so many different
Mm-hmm.
backgrounds and the differences, and you can tell
Mm-hmm.
the ones that need like a little push, a little motivation.
Mm-hmm.
So I love books that tailor to that confidence and to building them up, because it is so important. Even I teach eighth grade, even at that grade level, they're still looking for that reassurance and that, validation,
Yes.
uplifting. So yes, that's great. My first book that I put out was it was a coloring book for black and brown little girls,
Mm-hmm.
called Brilliant Beautiful Me. And it was because my daughter, like Zuri, your
Mm-hmm.
little cousin, they didn't have, this was like back in 2000, maybe 12. They didn't really have a lot of, characters that my daughter could identify with other than
Mm-hmm.
like Dr. Stuffins, I think. So that was really the catalyst. And it was, I just was like, no, this is important. Little kids need to see someone that they can identify with, telling them that they're beautiful, that they can do this, and just
Yes.
encouragement.
Mm-hmm.
So I applaud you for putting out Zuri's Magic to, let little girls that look like her
Mm-hmm.
see that the magic is inside. So I love that.
That's very important to me. All of my children's books, the main characters are brown little
Mm,
girls and boys, because I feel like um, people need to know that we too can achieve, and they need to see literature that has main characters that look like us
yeah,
and not always
mm,
others. So that's always going to be a thing for me.
yeah.
Um, I just always think that that should happen. So.
Yeah, and that's why I think just in any genre, I think I always say it's important for authors to tell their story from their perspective,
Mhm.
because if we don't, other people are going to tell it from their perspective.
Yeah.
Not saying that it's wrong, but it's not from, you know, our perspective. So I
Mhm.
always think it's important for people, if they have a book, any type of book that they feel like they want to put out, it's pretty much going to be history, because I love reading books from back in the day
Mhm.
to see from other people's perspective, just in different, because you could read, a book about, for example, Hurricane Katrina. I'm from New
Mhm.
Orleans person.
Oh, okay.
From different perspectives of people that lived in the city at that time, and you will
Mhm.
get so many different stories.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I think that's important. So let's see. When you're doing children's books, I feel like for me it's a little easier than a plot driven, like
It is.
chapter book. So when you wrote Zuri's Magic,
Mhm.
what was your process like for developing the whole story? Like, did you follow a strict routine, or did you just come as you go? Or
It really is my process, even with, say, the romance novels and things like that. My process is not typical. So I'm not a write out an outline type person. I'm not even, I type on the computer. I don't even handwrite anything. Like, that's not my thing. the most closest thing I get to handwriting is if something hits me while I'm like in the car writing with my husband or something, I'll type it in my phone and transfer it. So it really is inspiration based. So once she said, I want a book about me and gave me the parameters as only a 4-year old can, she, it really was me just kind of going, okay, putting those thoughts in my head and let it go because I get kind of inspired and just start writing.
Yeah.
Um, so once I got the idea, I was like, oh, let's do this, let's do this, let's have a fairy tale in the land of the trolls. Okay, she wants trolls, we'll do this. And it just hits me. And then I just start typing. So even with um, so with this book, it was just me. It hit me one day in the car, random, let's do this. And I sat there, and my husband's like, you're writing, because he recognizes that I started typing. Just he's driving, and I'm just like, da, 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 da. He's like, you're writing a book, aren't you? I was like, yes. And then he just left me alone. And so by the time we journeyed, I had enough time from when we journeyed to wherever we were going that I had the basis of the book, and then just went back in and again, like I said, made sure the language was kid friendly and made sure it made sense. And I read it to the family, and it was just making sure because my youngest daughter is a teacher. She teaches second grade. I'm
Okay.
from I'm from an educational background as well. This is year 26 for me in education. So just kind of vetting it that way and making sure that it fit. But my journey, even with the romance novels, most those start with poems. My books start with a poem, and then it's kind of the outline of the story,
Mhm.
um, but not really. But it kind of follows the journey of the poems, and so I just get inspired to write a chapter and just sit down and write and then go back. That way you can kind of copy, paste, move. You don't have to do all the drawings and the lines going every which way. I just move stuff and edit as I go. So that makes it easier for me. So I've heard a lot of people say, and there's nothing wrong with it, if
Mhm.
what your process is your process, that they write outlines and that they, you know, do all of those things. That's just not the way I write.
Yeah.
And it has worked for me to do it that way,
Yeah.
um, the way I do it. And so I usually know the end of the story before the beginning.
Mm.
Like I know where I'm going before, which is
Yeah.
always, people always go, really? I'm like, yes, I know how I want it to end. So my challenge is always going back and building to the end to make sure that I don't jump too quickly
Mm.
to the end and to make sure I build the story and build the plot and build the things along the way. So,
Yeah.
so
That's great.
whatever works for, I would tell anybody, whatever works for you. If your voice recordings work for you that you can transcribe, do that. If outlines work for you, do that. But my journey is always just sit and write.
Yeah, I love that. I wish I could do that. I don't. I forgot who I was talking to in an interview. I think it was EJ Jordan. I don't know the end. Like I've been working on a book for almost 10 years. It's just because
Mm.
if it's that story, first of all, it's my baby. I really want it to be put, Tyler Perry, I said all the time, it's like a series or a movie.
Mhm, mhm.
And I don't know the ending. I still don't know the ending. It's kind of, I let the characters
Mhm,
decide. Like my characters really come to life, and it just kind of depends on what they're doing. So I need to finish it before October. So hopefully I'll be able to do that. But I
mhm,
wish I had, like, oh, I know how the stories, some of them, but like that one, it's a mystery thriller. So it's
mhm.
like, I don't know.
Um,
Yeah.
but it
Oh,
makes it difficult, like I said, because you have to make sure you don't rush to the end.
yeah.
And so that's been my challenge to really build the
Hmm.
characters and build their stories along the way, and so that I don't rush to get to
Yeah.
where I want to get to. So,
Yeah. 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 Well, like you said, I do think like everybody's process is different. I think the thing is, get the words on the paper. Once you get
hmm
the words on the paper or the computer, then you can go from there and, like you
hmm
said, move stuff around. Um, let's see, what's our next? I think the next one is advice for aspiring authors. So, um, I would say you can give whatever advice you want to give, but I would say if you can also give advice for people finding time to write?
Ooh, yeah. Time is the biggest challenge, and I will say that because the first book that um, came out, I
Mhm.
actually wrote it during the pandemic,
Mhm.
and I had started it like 6 or 7 months before that, actually putting the story down. But time, right? Because we have life, and so my publisher's like was like, "Are you going to?" I'm like, "Yeah." So I would send her snippets every now and then, just so. And she's a independent publisher, but I
Mhm.
would just send her snippets so she would kind of stay off my back type deal. But um, it really was challenging. To the first book, I had the time because, of course, we were all on lockdown. So where else was I going? I had time to write.
Yeah.
And then life went back to somewhat normal. And so the second book took a little longer because time. So finding time, what I had to do was just dedicate an hour, and even if I didn't write but 4 sentences, I just dedicated, okay, no one bother me. I have this time. I'm going to do this. Stop scrolling on Facebook, Instagram, all of the things that distract us because it's mindless. Turn the TV on mute or off and just sit and set a specific time and let the world around you know that that time is sacred.
Yeah.
Even if you have to start with a half hour and just sit down and write. It doesn't
Yeah.
even have to be in any specific order. You can always piece things together later. But sometimes I would be, okay, I'm going to write about this part today, but it's actually before this other part or after this other part, and I just put it together later. Um, but you have to just dedicate that time to writing and zoning in. And when that inspiration hits you, no matter where you are, do like me. I did in the car. Pull
Yeah.
out your phone, pull up your notes, and type, even if it's just an idea that you can flesh out later. So yeah, it time is time is an issue because life is life, and so
Yeah. Yeah, it can be hard, but I think, like you said, the discipline, it's a discipline, just like going to the gym or eating
mhm,
healthy. Like
mhm,
you have to carve out that time
mhm,
to just
mhm,
meal prep or go step foot in the gym, walk on the something.
mhm.
But yeah, that is my biggest struggle as a self-proclaimed procrastinator. I need
That
to get
too.
and just write. And I think tying a goal or like making a vision board maybe can help to push, motivate you. But yeah. Well, I believe it's time for our trivia.
Yay! Love it.
Time. Yes. Okay, so this is Would You Rather Author Edition.
Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna have you pick a number from 1 to 4.
3.
3. That is like, I think when I'm gonna play the numbers and I'm gonna pick 3. Everybody always picks 3.
Really?
Everybody. Okay, so this
Oh,
one is: would you rather only write at 3 a.m. or only write with a typewriter?
I would rather only write at 3 a.m. And I am not I like to be asleep at 3 a.m., but typewriter, absolutely not. I've lived through the age. I'm good with the typewriter.
Well, what's wrong with it? You know what's crazy is that Christina Zell, this girl pulled out a typewriter. When I asked,
Really?
she said, "Actually, I would like a typewriter." I was like, "Oh my god, you just have a typewriter."
Wow. No, I left those when the word processors came out, I was done.
Yeah. So, what is your beef with typewriters? Why don't you like a typewriter?
Because you have to start all the way over if you make a mistake. And so I remember writing papers and having to retype the whole
Mhm.
thing or work with that little whiteout to try to get.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I
Yeah.
that's way
I,
too much, and it blocks your process because if you're in the middle of a thought and you realize you make a mistake, you could lose the thought trying to fix the mistake. No, I'll get up at 3 and write. It's okay.
I agree. I hate getting up early, but I would probably have to do this. Now, I used to have a typewriter as a child. They're cute, they're nostalgic, but for like
Hmm.
get stuff done, especially as a procrastinator, like you said, I would just be like, yeah,
Yeah.
this. Well, Miss Towns, we're at our last closing slide.
Okay.
So what? is next for you?
So, like I said, I am working on a collaboration with a poetry book with a good friend of mine. So that should be coming out within the next month or two. And so after that, I don't know. I think we're doing another women's devotional. So I'm also working on that as well. Um, and so those are collaborations. Independently, I don't have anything planned because those are taking up a lot of my time because I'm kind of lead on both of them. Not kind of, I am lead on both of them, trying to pull everything together. So I think those are what are consuming my mind. Usually, if I have something going, it's a inspired. I call them downloads. Download comes and I do it. So those are the. That's it for now. I think that's more than enough to keep me busy for a minute.
Yeah. Okay. Well, definitely, we're looking forward to those new projects that you have coming out. In the meantime, tell us where we can find Zuri's Magic and any of your other lovely books.
So all of my books are available on Amazon. If you look up Tiffany Flowers Towns, it will come up with all of my books. And I also, if you contact me directly, I can mail signed copies to you as well. So that would be at Purpose Focused Productions at gmail.com because I do have an LLC called Purpose Focused Productions, and that's my business per se. We're helping writers through the process, editing, helping them with uploads on Amazon, those types of things that I'm doing as well.
Okay, well, we'll definitely have all of your information in the description box so people can
Okay.
get in touch with you.
Okay.
And for social media, is it the same? Do you have like a Facebook author page or?
I do. I have a Facebook and an Instagram. Facebook is Purposeful Focus Productions. And then my Instagram is PFPLLC. And so you can find me on both of those. I do not have a TikTok or as far as that business goes, but I'm also on Instagram as Purpose Focused 72. Oh, I'm sorry, Focused Forward 72. So
Okay,
instead of Purpose Focus, I'm like, oh my gosh. So
don't worry. We'll have everything linked in the description so they can get in touch with you. Guys, definitely go check out Zuri's Magic. This is
yes,
a cute little book. All children could read it and learn that the magic is inside. Okay. Mrs. Tiffany Flowers Towns, we thank you for stopping by at Jazz
thank
and Pro.
you.
You're welcome back anytime when you get those devotionals. And yeah, definitely have a great rest of your day. Where are you located?
Jacksonville, Florida.
Oh my God, my cousin lives there. I've been there a couple of times. I love
Yeah.
y'all down there. Okay. Well, yeah, we thank you for stopping by and we hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Bye,
Thank you.
y'all.